This meeting is being recorded.
Hey guys, welcome to the Power of Attorney podcast. I am your host, LaTanya Moore. Today I have with me not a new guest, but certainly someone that we love to hear from every now and then, and that is Mr. Kevin Jefferson. Kevin is a graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point. He was commissioned a field artillery officer and served with rapid deployment units in the United States and the Persian Gulf. Upon entering the civilian sector, Kevin has exhibited his managerial and leadership talents with multiple Fortune 50 companies. He started his first privately held company, Jefferson Capital Partners, in 2005 and has continued to see success as exhibited by the accolades he has received. Kevin has more than 17 years of experience in financial services, from personal financial advisory services to foreign currency trading. He has collaborated with state and local governments across the United States to provide more than 2.5 billion US dollars in economic development and strategic financial planning services. He has created a comprehensive foreign currency trading solution, Forex, to satisfy the needs of institutional and retail traders across the globe. He works with family offices, institutions, private wealth managers, small companies, and individuals to assist them in adding alternative assets to their portfolio. You can find out more about Kevin and what they're doing at www.fmtrades.com. That's fmtrades.com. Kevin, welcome to the Power of Attorney podcast.
Thank you for having me, LaTanya. Thank you so much.
It's always a pleasure to have you back because I feel like, of course, since we first connected, I have probably been trolling what you guys have been doing just because it was very fascinating from the very beginning. But I know that you have now extended into, I think when we talked before, I don't think that you were working very closely with the family offices. I think you were just kind of transitioning into that. So this is just know that this is certainly very, very timely. Today, I want to talk to you because you guys are doing something called the trade of a lifetime, how to replace your income and get your time back without getting another job. Tell us about that.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah. So the trade of a lifetime, it speaks to, repurposing the time that you have every day and leveraging it appropriately to get higher outcomes for your life. So what I found in the years that I've been serving people by way of Forex or even in the financial journey that I use as a traditional stockbroker, which I was many, many years ago, is that the main thing that keeps people from living in the fullness of their humanity or accomplishing their goals and dreams. I mean, there are a number of things, but one main thing is time. And it's amazing to see how we all have the same 24 hours a day, but one person can get so much more done and have so many more financial outcomes and so many more successes, and then another person will not. And so what we aspire to do is to use the foreign exchange and use our knowledge and our expertise to help people get out of what I call the corporate coma. I think I've spoken about that before, where you go to a job that you may or may not like, for a check that you may or may not like, around people you may or may not like. And if you can't have that one candid conversation with your supervisor or your boss without fear of losing your income, then I consider you in the corporate coma. And I don't care if that amount is $30,000 a year or if it's $30 million a year, a la professional sports. If you can't have your voice, and then if they decide to end their relationship with you and you can't replace that income immediately or relatively quickly, then I consider you in the corporate coma. So what we wanted to do is use our skills to help people replace that work income, because foreign exchange, the Forex, which I won't get too far into the details, it's like trading the stock market, but it has some very unique differences that allow you to leverage a much smaller investment to have a much greater outcome or a similar outcome than you would if you were trading in the stock market. And so what we did earlier this year is we rolled out an online course. We started with Forex for Dads, and it's timely. This is the timing of this particular meeting. And so I've been really focusing on getting men in that position, because I know there's a frustration with guys who are working, multiple jobs, working, multiple situations to either meet the needs that they have for their family obligations or to try to just get ahead. And so I'm offering to help people really take a look at their situation, look at their lives, and really treat it like a business, and then find opportunities to where you can use the foreign exchange, learning that skill set to actually produce the income that you need and do it in a fraction of the time. So that's what I mean when I talk about the trade of a lifetime and getting your time back. We're talking about literally trading not 1 hour for a certain amount of dollars, i.e. a regular job, but maybe an hour for the equivalent of a month's worth of dollars at your job. And that's a very real and feasible thing that a lot of our students have experienced.
Awesome. And you guys do such great work. One of the things that I always have to ask about, because it's one of those glaring things, is, of course, part of your demographic is people that don't know about this. And I want the audience to understand that this is really not necessarily people. I mean, there could be people that are millionaires that have no idea that they could do this. So this is not about being poor, not having money, or having money. It's really about a failure to understand or being exposed to things like the foreign currency exchange, right?
That's exactly right. Actually, I have a number of students. We started off when we started teaching people about the foreign exchange several years ago. I hosted a lot of live trading camps, live and very intimate classes, because I like to keep my class size small so that I can really spend that time and that energy to help make sure my students are successful. But one thing I realized when I was hosting a lot of those live events, I had a lot of high net worth professionals in my class. I mean, business owners who had already done really well for themselves. There were a number of doctors, physicians who were making, significant income, high 6 and 7 figure incomes, but they realized that they didn't have the time. And so they just became aware of it by being in certain circles, or, we had mutual relationships. And, so sometimes it's just who you know. But you're right. It's not about your income level at that point. It's really about your basically your exposure or your access to the information. And that's what we try to do is to broadcast our message so that more people can get exposed to the information, no matter where you are in your financial journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for that. Thank you for really, really talking about that, because I know that probably a lot of people that initially read about this podcast and they hear it, they're probably, the first mind is going to say, okay, I don't know what that is.
Right.
And it's not for me. It's beyond me. And that's why I wanted to take a minute to get you to really address that and talk about that. There are lots of things. I know we're limiting it to what we're talking about today, but there are lots of things, like you said, that really meet you where you are. But this is one of those things. It meets you where you are. It meets you at your budget. Anyone can do this as long as you need to take Kevin's class, right? Because you can't do it on your own, because somebody has to teach you how to do it. But anyone has access to be able to trade on the foreign exchange, right?
Correct. And so, technology is, and it, goes back about 20 years to where Forex actually became available to the general public, people like yourself and myself. And so technology has made it such that you actually have access to this platform. But you're right. You can really allow it to meet you where you are, as you said, whether, whatever amount of capital you have to put forth to trade, that's not even the initial conversation. The first conversation with yourself should be, because I believe in what I call you incorporated, you being the most important company and entity that you'll ever control in your life. And so you approach it like a business. You say, okay, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are my opportunities to create more income using what I have? And the first thing that you have to do, in my opinion, from an investment standpoint, is invest in yourself. And so our online class, what I did was I created it to simplify the process that I've really allowed to evolve over the last 11 years. I've been trading Forex for about 11 years now. And I've taken what I've learned and the lessons that I've earned and actually put it into a very palatable and step-by-step instruction, online instruction. So it's self-paced to where you once you enroll in the course, you take your time. If you only have an hour a day or an hour a week, you can pace yourself accordingly. But I really made it simple to where a lot of our students have never heard of foreign exchange. And I'll get into some of the misconceptions in a minute, but a lot of them have never heard of it. But the greatest success stories are actually the people who have never, ever traded before or never knew anything about it, because they don't have any hangups or any things that we have to help them unlearn. And so when I talk about simplicity of the course, I mean, if it was a shoe shining course, it would be, this is a shoe. This is a towel. this is shoe polish. Put the towel in the shoe polish. Put the towel on the shoe. Rub this way. Rub that way. Here's a brush. I mean, literally, it's that detailed and that simple to where people can generally anybody could actually take this course no matter where they are. So I wanted to also speak about misconceptions, because what happens is a lot of people believe that, do you have to have a finance degree, or do you have to know about all the different currencies in the world, or do you have to know about all the economic events that are developing in the world, like Brexit and so on and so forth. And honestly, the answer is no. The Forex, all markets really are just a mathematical representation of supply and demand, and then the overarching psychology around global beliefs around supply and demand. So the charts and what we teach is actually we're just taking information and making decisions based on what's already been given to us. So you don't have to learn about all the different world's currencies. You don't have to, subscribe to Bloomberg. You don't have to do a lot of the things that you think you need to do. And you don't have to have a certain level of education either to be successful at this. Matter of fact, I think sometimes the less that you've been quote unquote educated, the better off you are in this instance.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, because again, I really want people to, at a minimum, go to www.fmtrades.com and just look around. If you're interested, either from hearing this podcast, you see some things that you have, please reach out to Kevin and his team, because they, like he said, there are lots of educational tools that they have, and you want to make sure that you are as educated as you can be going into the process, but not to the point where you think that you've figured it out, and so now you're no longer coachable. Because it's not going to be successful for you. So Kevin, again, it is always a pleasure to have you here. We're going to have you back again and talk about some other things that are in your bio. But before we let you go, first of all, do you guys have some events that you're doing? And then what's like the one thing that you'd like to leave our audience with?
Okay. Yes, we actually have a webinar or a masterclass that is going to occur on June 20th, Thursday, June 20th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you go to fmtrades.com, we're actually running a link. We actually have the links out on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, just look up followmytrades.com or Forex Fam, which is our hashtag FOREXFAM, Forex Fam, our page, and you can actually link, get the link to the webinar. But what we'll do is if you go to the website, you can hit a bit.ly link, and then you can actually sign up for the masterclass and really learn a little bit more about it. We're going to do some really special stuff and make it worth your while if you jump on the webinar. But the one thing that you can do is, I think at this point, the first thing you can do is take stock of where you are. A lot of people started the year off with some type of game plan, some type of financial game plan, some type of goal that they wanted to achieve. And I'd encourage you, being that we're at the mid part of this year, to just take stock of the success that you've had in accomplishing that mission. In addition to that, take stock of what it is that you really want out of your life. And I'm not talking about just material things, but really what impact do you want to leave on the world, and what legacy do you want to leave? And then ask yourself, how are you in a position to do that? I don't subscribe to the premise that money is the only thing, but it is a very necessary thing. So I don't really drill down on the money, although it's very important, and that's what we teach you how to do, is to create the money. But what I've learned is the biggest part is understanding your mindset and what the limiting the self-limiting beliefs that you have that are between your ears, because we've grown up with ourselves our whole lives. And I think that because we live with ourselves, sometimes we are our biggest adversary, because we discourage ourselves, self-doubt, fear, things that we've been through. We don't believe that we're good enough to be successful. And so I would encourage you to not only take stock of where you are as it relates to your financial goals for this year, but I'd also encourage you to take stock of where you are mentally and psychologically, and have you really started to put yourself in position to handle and or accomplish the success that you say that you want.
Awesome. Great advice. Again, Kevin, as always, such a pleasure to have you here with us on Power of Attorney. Guys, listen, go to www.fmtrades.com. You have gotten some nuggets of wisdom that you will be doing yourself a disservice if you don't connect with these guys, even if it's just for education and informational purposes initially. But my hope is that you will follow through, you will take the masterclass,